Hello and happy International Dot Day. Today we're going to be talking about discovering digital creativity on International Dot Day. So make your mark and see where it takes you. My name is John Graham and I'm the Elementary Digital Learning Specialist at the Maine Department of Education. And if you're interested in contacting me for more information about this presentation or other work of mine, you certainly can reach out via email or Twitter, and you can see some of the projects that I'm working on our Learning Through Technology website that I have linked there. So in today's session, we're going to talk a little bit about what Dot Day is, how it's moved from a book to a full-scale international event. We're going to be talking about why this is important. So lots of C words, like creativity being probably foremost, but a number of kind of concepts behind Dot Day. We're going to talk about how your students could participate. So I've got suggestions of a wide variety that involve digital tools in a variety of different ways that you might consider using. And then lastly, where can you share the stuff that you're doing? Certainly if you're doing something at your school, whether it is using any of the examples I'm providing or digital tools that I'm suggesting, I would be thrilled to hear more about it. But if you're doing anything, even if it doesn't involve technology in any obvious way, certainly feel free to send those things my way. And I'll have more information about that in that segment. What is Dot Day? So The Dot, for those who don't know, is a book by Peter H. Reynolds that came out in 2003. And it was kind of his first big book that was a big hit. You might recognize his artwork from Junie B. Jones is probably the artwork he's most famous for. But The Dot, when that came out, it kind of had a unique look, unique story, and it really kind of caught on in a big way. So the main character, Vashti, is encouraged throughout the book that she's an artist, and the kind of journey that takes her on is a big part of it. So it's really one of those books about kind of risk taking and doing something that's creative and just being open to wherever that opportunity, whatever opportunities follow when you are creative. So the story kind of continues in 2009 with Terry Shay, who is a music teacher, and how he decided to take the concept of the dot and bring it into his classroom and kind of have a dot day, and it kind of just took off from there. So it's been more than 10 years now, and Dot Day is kind of an annual event that really celebrates creativity in the classroom. Peter Reynolds, I thought I would include this quote from him that I think is really nice. It is very, very hard sometimes to hear your own creative voice. That voice that's inside of you. But if you give yourself some time and space, you will hear it. And it's a beautiful thing when that happens. So I think this really speaks to Peter Reynolds' kind of mindset and thinking about creativity and just how important it is. So, as I've kind of said it several times, creativity is really his big thing. He and his brother, who's also an author, they are involved with a number of different projects. The Reynolds Center, as you can see right there, creativity right in their title. I think that's certainly a nice resource that's out there that is kind of doing the same work in the vein of The Dot. And then The Dot is the first book in what he calls a trilogy, along with Ish and Sky Color that I have pictured there. So I think you'll find in anything that Peter Reynolds is involved in, there's always this kind of celebration of creativity, whether it's his other books or presentations or events that he's involved in. I mean, that is kind of his brand. So just know that there's lots of stuff out there. So the next part of why is this important? So I think for those of you who are educators, you might be familiar with the 4 C's that I have shown on the left there: creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. I think obviously creativity is the big one with Dot Day, but I think, there are a number of words beginning with C, and I kind of have gathered a few here to kind of get you thinking about, any of the different ways that you might leverage Dot Day in working with your students. I love the idea of talking about taking a chance and being creative as a courageous act. I think that's definitely a theme in the book, kind of having the bravery to do something that might be outside of your comfort zone. I think the caring really speaks to the art teacher in the story and how it was her caring for the character and supporting her that really brought something out. And I think that's another element of it as well. So if you're a teacher, whether you're an art teacher or something else, definitely one of those key aspects of connecting with children is really showing that you care. It really is the key to getting the best out of them. So how could my students participate? So I've got a list here of some digital tools and ideas that you might, consider using. But I should just let you know that there are a ton of ideas out there, whether you're looking on Pinterest or just doing a Google search for Dot Day ideas. There's so much stuff out there that you can find. So certainly feel free to do that, and I'm sure you'll explore and find all kinds of different things. So with all of these activities and ideas that I'm sharing here, I do want to point out that you can really make it fit any model that you would like. So if you want to do an activity where the teacher's demonstrating and then the students are following along, that certainly will fit for some of these. If you want to, as an entire class, do one of these activities, that is certainly something you could do as well. If you have rotations or stations within your classroom, there are a variety of different activities that I'm going to share that you could include that could be useful in that model. And if you are doing some sort of virtual model, whether you are doing a hybrid model or students are working remotely, whatever it may be, that's another factor that you can bring in. There are a lot of these that you could share with your students virtually as well, whether it's in your classroom physically or if they're outside of your classroom. So just know there's a lot of possibilities with Dot Day stuff. The first thing that I want to talk about is a presentation that I put together a year ago, read aloud enrichment through technology. So if that is something that you are interested, that I will include this link here, and that's certainly something you can find on our DOE's YouTube channel. But that might be a consideration, is actually going to your library, getting the dot out, and reading it to your students. And if you want to do that just as a regular read aloud, that's fine. But if you're interested in pulling in some technology elements, this presentation that I put together here will give you some suggestions and ideas for that. So that might be an option for folks. Weston Woods worked with Reynolds and his publisher to create an animated version of the dot. So while that is not freely available anywhere that I know of, it certainly is something that's out there that you might be able to find a version of that you could show with your class. I've included a link to a trailer on here, but just know that that's something that's out there. So again, if you had a rotation of stations, that might be a fun way to share the story with students beyond just, read aloud or them reading the book. Building upon that, singer-songwriter Aaron Dale put together the Dot song, and I do have a link to that video. So if you're looking for kind of a music angle to it, this is, I think, a nice way to get at the theme, and it's something that's light and fun and really plays to the like I said, to the theme of Dot Day. Building upon that some more, this video that I linked here, Emily Arrow has a motions guide. So the song and then hand motions that you can do along with the song. So bringing in that physical movement piece as well. So if you're, want to get your class up and moving around, this might be a fun way to do that. So certainly something to consider. And Peter Reynolds has done a number of videos on Kidlit TV, which if you've never checked out that YouTube channel, you should definitely check that out. They have all kinds of stuff. But the video that I have linked here, Ready, Set, Draw-ish, is, it's him talking about his actual artwork and kind of going through making some of the signature artwork from the Dot book. So I think this can be a fun kind of jumping off point if you wanted to do this as an activity or something like that. But Kidlit TV does something almost every year related to Dot Day, puts together a new video. So there's a nice archive there. So if it is something that you've never utilized before, you've got a nice library of Dot Day related videos that you could pull up and share with students in whatever capacity you'd like. Something that someone recently shared with me that I thought was really neat was this fine motor name sheet generator. So this utilizes Adobe Reader, so you would need to have that on your computer, but it's essentially a free download that you can get set up, run it in Adobe Reader, and then you can just put whatever words in there that you want. I put my name in there, and you can see it kind of generates this blank boxy text, and within it there are all these little circles. So you can go through and color those circles in any way that you'd want. So neat little artistic piece that I thought was really cool way to utilize technology just for the kind of auto-generating of that. If you have never seen the Quiver app, you can see that GIF that I have in the upper right corner there kind of shows you what this particular app can do. So this actually is augmented reality, and I've included links here, so if you want to download the app, and this works on most devices that have a camera. So not all devices you'll be able to do this with, but iPads and Chromebooks with a camera, or tablets, Android tablets that have a camera, you can download this. I think even some Kindles this works on as well. And then the link to the coloring page. So essentially what students do is they have a coloring sheet and they color that. So you can see this has a fox face on it that they drew and colored. And then when you scan it using the app, it actually provides all of these options. So your Dot can do all kinds of different things. And in the lower left, I have a link to a video that will show you if you're kind of more interested in seeing what the process looks like. This is a nice way to roll out Quiver if that's an app you're interested in using. Has some very light applications, educational value, but there's also some really, a little bit more involved stuff. And it's, I think if you're running stations, this is a nice thing to include. Great way for really young students to practice holding their tablets properly and getting the scan and and all of that. So it's definitely a fun activity to do. Art with dots, I think if you search for dot day activities, you'll often find connections back to famous art. So I've included a couple examples here. So the Farbstudie Quadrate, Pointillism, and pop art being three here, but I mean there are a lot of possibilities there. So if you are an art teacher, this can be a nice way into launching into some popular art and exploring that with students and tying it in with the dot day theme, and maybe having students create their own version of these types of art forms. So again, one of those things, I think it's a really neat way to bring in art history and art styles, so students kind of become aware of it, but it's part of this other event. So obviously people have a variety of devices, I think, that are watching this. So I included this from Aaron Integration's blog. On the left, if you're using iPads or some tablets, she gives some great suggestions of activities to do around dot day. And then on the right, if you have a Chromebook or you're just doing web-based stuff, some of the web-based stuff will actually work for tablets as well. So this will give you a variety of options. So some stuff to think about. And I think dot day can be a great way, because obviously we're getting at creativity, great way to roll out a new app for students and just giving them that opportunity to explore and try something different. That you might build on in the future for maybe a little more educational heft, but a nice way to get started. So she has some great suggestions here if you're looking for some other options, or you're concerned that some of the stuff I'm sharing, how is this going to work with my specific device that my kiddos have? I know a lot of elementary schools have Seesaw is something that they have set up and they're using. Certainly if your students have gone, are going remote, or you're in a hybrid model, or whatever the case may be, Seesaw can be fantastic. I have linked in there are already some activities in their activity library. So if you're just kind of looking for something that you can quickly grab and push out to students through Seesaw, Seesaw's activity library's got you covered, so you can always go on there and check it out. But I would say Seesaw has the potential really to, do all kinds of, any of the things that I've shared here so far, you could share with your students via Seesaw, I think, for the most part, and they could access it. Or if there's any artwork that students are doing, certainly that's something to be thinking about, is uploading it to Seesaw. And if your parents or families are tied in, it's a great type of very visual activity driven event that you can share with your families, and I know that's something they'll like to see. Along those same lines, Book Creator, if this is an app that you have not used before, maybe are aware of it, but maybe it's something you use all the time. But Book Creator is something that you could use really to, again, capture student work, especially if you're doing stuff that's physical. So I think the idea of, if you're doing art and you're kind of thinking, I just want to do, some painting, do some drawing, nothing involving a computer or a tablet, this would be a way that you could actually digitize that work. So I have linked in here a Book Creator creation from a teacher who captured her class doing dot day stuff and kind of made that compilation within a Book Creator. So that's something to be thinking about as well, whether you just kind of capture this work that kids are doing and share it that way. That's, I think, a fantastic way to use Book Creator, and one of those ways that we might not always think of kind of capturing those things. But certainly I think anytime you're capturing student work within your classroom, I mean, I think everybody benefits from that. I'd also like to make mention, although I have not used it myself, but Fable Vision, which is Mr. Reynolds' kind of learning platform, like digital platform, they have developed some apps on there. So Maker Studio and Animation-ish are ones that I would mention. They're web-based, so they'll work on most any device. And I think that's something that if you're looking for, a variety of different activities, I know I've given some suggestions, but that might be something to consider if you have the funding available. And I like that Dot Day is early on in most school years, so if you're rolling out an app for the first time, it's I think a nice kind of jumping off point, but hopefully you'd use it beyond just Dot Day. I would like to make mention of they have an educator's handbook available, so you can sign up on their website and you can get access to that. Certainly something to think about if you're looking to do any variety of Dot Day stuff. Lots of great suggestions in here. And this is a really exciting one, is that you can join Peter Reynolds for a live event. So this event was held today, actually about the same time as I'm recording this video right now. So you can still access it. You can register and you can access it after the fact, which is what I'll be doing. But just know that he does something every year, so this is, if you're doing Dot Day in the future, typically you can access some sort of presentation or event that he's doing in conjunction with Dot Day. So I think it's always nice where students can make that connection with the author of a book. All right, where can I share? So I think, and let's see where it takes your students. I think there is a great opportunity here to do some really creative stuff and to share it out, as broadly as you feel comfortable with. If you are interested in connecting with other classrooms, international.day.org has a Google Doc that might help you get connected with some other people. That isn't something I've done myself. If it's something that you do, I'd love to hear about it. But I think the opportunity to work with other students, in other parts of the country, around the globe, is always a fun opportunity for students to make some different kinds of connections. Social media, so depending on how, your school's policy around social media, if you have a school Facebook, Twitter, Instagram account, what have you, there are certainly the opportunities to create stuff for Dot Day, capture stuff for Dot Day, and then share it out. I included the hashtag Dot Day and hashtag International Dot Day. I think including either of those will get some different eyeballs on your shares, but where it's so visual and emphasizing creativity, I think these are the types of work, types of events that schools really should be highlighting and sharing out on their social media. I think families like to see it, communities like to see it. It really gets at the kinds of things that we'd want our kids to be doing in school just so much of the time, and always great to highlight those things and share them out. And if you have a learning management system or even a physical parent newsletter, again, I think there's a great opportunity if you have your parents and families that are connected. Again, this is very visual, great way to share that out with them, get them seeing what you're doing in the classroom. So I think having that event that you focus on. If you're putting in the effort to put it together and make it happen, certainly take some time to capture it and share it out with your family so they can see it and get excited about it. So even if you don't have those social media options in your school, if you have options, with your families, you can share things out that way as well. Probably doing both is fine also. So thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully you leave, it's kind of a call to action to participate in Dot Day. If you have any questions, my contact information again is right there. Feel free to contact me at any time related to this event, Dot Day, or other things you got going on. And please, if you're doing something, feel free to drop me a line, tag me on Twitter, whatever it is that you want to do to let me know. I'm thrilled to see when schools kind of take on Dot Day. It's something that I was able to do when I was working in schools. I'd love to see the things that educators around the state, around the country are doing, and around the world with Dot Day and how they're using it to really promote creativity for students. And I have linked within this presentation your contact hour. So if you have watched through this presentation and looking for that contact hour, it is linked there. Thank you and have a wonderful International Dot Day 2021.